All right, this is chapter 5 of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We're continuing on page 64. When we stopped last time, in dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. So that was our homework, and we're picking up where we left off. We asked ourselves why we were angry. In most cases, it was found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore. We were burned up. On our grudge list, we set opposite each name our injuries. Was it our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions, our personal or sex relations which had been interfered with? So there's our next two columns, and we're going to break it down. So column number 2, why I was angry. So a lot of people rip off a scab or they dig a deep hole and they bleed out at this step. This is best done in point form, not in long glorified paragraphs of what was done to you. We do not want to re-victimize ourselves. We want to, in point form, write why we were angry. For example, number 1 is my ex-boyfriend. Why I was angry. He lied, he cheated, he relapsed, he stole money, he gossiped, he manipulated, he belittled, and he was controlling. I didn't relive my pain. I, in point form, just wrote out what I was angry about, okay? My number 2 is the McDonald's on St. John's. Why I was angry. They're always slow. That's always dirty. They always get my order wrong, and they are always unprofessional. Point form, right? Quick and painless. Number 3 was my gas prices. Oh, I hate gas prices. They're too expensive, and they're not regulated in British Columbia. Where I used to live, they were regulated. So one gas station on one side of the street can have one price, and across the street can have a different one. So that bugs me a lot. So that's my point form. Quick. It's not writing out paragraphs. He did this with that. He lied, he cheated, he gossiped, he stole. Point form. We don't want to relive our pain. All right, so then we go to number 3, my injuries. And we have 5 choices, and they're right there on the page. Self-esteem, security, ambitions, personal relations, or sex relations. And I have a graphic for that, so I'm going to post that. I'm going to read it right now. So it says, column 3, effects. This is a legend. Looking at your causes for these resentments, now use your legend to see how they affected you. For each person, place or thing, list your injuries. Number 1 is your self-esteem. That's pretty self-explanatory. Did it harm your self-esteem? Number 2 is your security. This includes emotional security, mental security, physical security, spiritual security, and economic, financial security. Okay? Number 3 is your ambitions, your goals and your dreams in life. So if you had ambitions of being the senior accountant at your law firm or wherever you worked, and your partner is controlling and jealous and holds you back, that affects your ambitions. Also is if you have that friend, sometimes we have those friends that are saying, oh, she's striving again. That can affect my ambitions because I might play small and not go for fear of judgment. So ambitions, that's what's affecting your goals and dreams in life. Number 4 is your personal relationships at the time or in the future. So this includes family, friends, coworkers, any personal type relationship you may have with your children. And then number 5 is your sexual relations at the time or in the future. So this is going to include dating type things. Could include your marriage, dating, not just where you're having sex with someone, but with the opposite sex or same sex if that applies to you. Okay, so you can write them out, the word self-esteem, security, ambitions, personal relations, or you can use the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will take a picture of this and post it. So those are our 2 next columns. So we're going to open it up for chat, discussion, comments, questions, everything. Anybody?
Hi, Pam. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Pam.
I have a question. You said sex relations or personal relationships. You say now or in the future. What do you mean by now or in the future?
Okay.
I mean the future.
So, for example, if I'm dating someone right now and they cheat on me and they lie to me, that's going to affect my relationship right now. But it's also going to affect the next person I date if I don't resolve it, because I'm going to carry that into the next relationship, and I may be a little bit withheld with emotion, or I maybe will accuse them of cheating, or I won't believe them if they tell me things because I've been lied to. So that can affect a future relationship. The same is with, say, a coworker. If there's a gossipy coworker, that gossipy coworker is affecting my personal relationship now with her, also with other coworkers, but it also can affect me in the future. Say if that gossip sticks around and I want a promotion or they hire a new employee, that person could affect my next relationship in that business as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, but what about, don't we go back? I mean, this will be the second time I do it. I'm going back also to what was going on when I first came in, or I'm not now?
If it's still bothering you, so say you had 3 boyfriends ago, you've probably been carrying the stuff that boyfriend did to each new relationship, right? And so it's going to continue affecting it until you take a look at this process.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Heidi G.
Hi. So my sponsor, right in the middle of this too, she added Pocketbook and Pride. So there was 7 affects.
There's 5 in the big book. We're following the big book. Pocketbook is going to fall under security, and Pride is going to fall under self-esteem.
That seems to make sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Jenny D.
Oh, no.
No, you're good. I hear you.
Am I good? I'm good. Okay. I can never find the thing. I'm Jenny Alcoholic. I got to say, this second column is one of my favorite parts of working these steps because I'll tell you, when I first did this, I did not want to sound petty on my step 4. I somehow I was still lying to myself that I was a much better person than I really was, right? And I did not want to sound petty. And I've learned this is the only place in my life, right here on column 2, where I can be as petty as I want to be, get it all out. It's only between me and God. And I honestly really enjoy getting petty. It's the only time in my life I enjoy doing it, but boy, does it help, because if I'm not petty, there might be, I mean, I've got, there's stuff on there like, oh, she had better hair than me, like ridiculous, stupid stuff, but I wanted it all gone, petty or not, and it works. Thanks.
Perfect. So quick question also from the chat. There was 2. Number 1 is if you are not on Facebook and you would like the pictures that I'm posting on Facebook, email me at any of my emails. There's lots to choose from. LilMissSobriety@gmail.com, KimberlyMasters@gmail.com, RemoteCommunities40@gmail.com. Just find me. I will send you the PDF. And the second was, what were the securities? Securities were emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and economical, which is financial. All right, Jeanette.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. Thanks for answering the securities one. What was the self-esteem one too? Did you have a list of those?
There's not a list in the self-esteem, but I mean,
she said pride would end up under.
Pride would end up in there. Ego would end up there. Self-confidence. Like, self-esteem is a huge umbrella. If it affects your confidence in any way, self-esteem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Leslie.
Hi, morning, Leslie, alcoholic. Okay, so I started when we were looking at this, talking about it a couple days ago, I started thinking about my old boss. And I really think that, like, she's falling under person. Actually, I had two old bosses. And I never thought about forgiving that person and revisiting it. So I'm thinking that I really got to do that now.
I think you're really going to like this process if you follow it step by step and don't jump ahead. Right? Like, this is why we break it down one step at a time. So we do column 1, write her name down. Column or his, write the boss, and then column 2. Why were you upset? Why are you angry? What is it? What did she do? He do? And then column 3, what did it affect? Like, follow through as we're going. Don't jump ahead to forgiveness, because there's a process here, and it's an eye-opening process, big time. So complete the process, digest it, and then we can talk about it more.
Okay.
Perfect. Joanne.
I'm Joanne. I'm an alcoholic addict. And I found, just for me, my sponsor walked me through this. And so I made my list, and then I met with her. And then we talked about, the simplicity of what that resentment was. And then, she helped me put those numbers, put those connections, so that I didn't have to go through this alone. And she provided a lot of clarity. That's all I wanted to share. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Oopsies. Kelowna, I want to answer your question, but I need you to give me a little bit more background on it. Can you unmute, please? Kelowna? Why? Okay, without you unmuting, is physical sexual? Well, it depends. If it's threatening your physical security based, like the security of your body, so like that would be any violence or any sexual activity that's unwanted. So rape, sexual abuse, sexual touching, that would be your physical security, absolutely. But if it's related to relationships and consensual sex, that would be sex relations. Does that answer your question?
Okay, got it.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? No stupid questions. Sometimes I give stupid answers. I'm kidding. Trish?
I'm Trish, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm just really super glad we're doing this right now. And again, it's divine timing, because I've been working on my step 4 for second time months. And I just feel so supported in it now, because I'm not trying to do it alone because of relocating in the last 4 months. I'm not around my sponsor. So this is great. That's all. Thanks.
Perfect. And just with regards to that too. So I know a few people are in multiple groups right now on multiple Zooms, right? So if you're doing multiple 4s, pick one. If you're doing multiple 4s, you need to pick one process and do it the way it's being laid out in that Zoom. So if you're in Tony and Joe and I's big book study, trying to do that 4, and then you're here trying to do this 4, and then you're trying to do a 4 with your sponsor, and then you got a ladies step group that you're trying to do a 4 with, stop. Put all your papers down and pick one, because a lot of people walk through this differently. Like we just heard, someone else has 7 in the third column, and some. Pick one, please. Your mind will be jumbled and a big fucking mess if you don't. So honest to God, from experience, pick one. It's okay to go through this process with us. Hang on. It's okay to go through this process with us and refer to your sponsor for guidance, right? Does that make sense to people? So it's like, okay, I'm in a Zoom line by line, and I'm doing the work as we go. I'm going to come to you for guidance, is the conversation you would have with your sponsor. Do not try to do this 4 times, 4 ways at once. You will fuck yourself up, just to be honest. I love the steps. I love reading the book, but I want you to be clear, because you'll get different things from different people. Try it 4 ways with 4 different times, but don't try it 4 ways at once. Pick one set. I'm sorry, I just really need to stress this. And I see Lisa going, yes, because she gets what I'm talking about. You will confuse the heck out of yourself. So, all right, now we got a shit ton more hands up. Linda. You got to unmute on your side.
I did.
Okay.
Quick question. Can you go through the securities again?
Yeah, absolutely. So emotional security, mental security, physical security, spiritual security, and financial or economical. And sometimes it can be both. That's why it's just called security. So my emotional and my mental could kind of be interchangeable. So, right?
Perfect.
Okay, all right. Raven, oh, she walked away. I'll come back. Shanti.
Yes, hi ladies. I'm Shantae. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, Kimberly. I believe you said for the second column, why we're angry, you said just to summarize, don't go all into it, right? Is that for column 2 and 3, or do we give more detail for column 3 for the effects?
Okay, so column 2, just for the not reliving it, because sometimes when you get into detail, it's like ripping a scab off, right? And it's just like, it's already partially healed, so we don't want to reopen a wound. So I like to go, I could write down all the times he lied to me in glorified detail. I could write down all the times he cheated on me in glorified detail. I could write what happened when he relapsed and how it affected me in glorified detail, but I don't need to. For this process, I'm not doing his inventory. I'm trying to do my inventory. I'm trying to look at me. I'm not looking at him. I already looked at him. That's why it happened. I've already been looking at him for the past 5 years. That's why I'm still pissed at him. So right now, I'm trying to stop looking at him and start looking at me. I'm trying to shift, right? So I'm going to put, he lied, he cheated, he relapsed, he stole money, he gossiped, he manipulated, he belittled, and he controlled me. I don't need to put more than that, because that sums up what I need to know for this process.
Okay.
Right? Does that help a bit to people? And if anybody wants to jump in and add to that, they can. Right? Because I've already relived this pain over and over in my mind. This is why I have a resentment towards him. I know what he did. But for this purpose, I'm trying to stop looking at him. I'm trying to stop being, he has it. I'm trying to shift my focus. This is how we're going to get there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, Raven, I saw you waving your hand before you have to move away.
Like self-esteem go on the side of people, places, and things, like not liking yourself. Well, I put myself on there, but like with like my body weight, so that would fall in like with my self-esteem. So I just put like self-esteem as a people, places, and things in column 1.
Okay, so if you put self-esteem down, what could you put as why I was angry?
Not looking in the mirror or something.
Right, as long as you can follow through each, like I could figure out why I was upset with self-esteem, right? I don't stand up for myself. I don't set boundaries properly. Like I could put self-esteem in column 1 and be able to follow through. So if you can put column 1, self-esteem, and then column 2, why I was angry, absolutely. And then you're going to look at number 3, my injuries. How does this affect me? Anything you can do this process on absolutely anything in your life. And definitely if body weight's an issue, body weight, put it there. Body image, right? Because it can go either way. And then why you're angry. What about your body image? What part of it does it affect on you? Your injuries for column 3. Absolutely. You can do this process for just about everything. Hasn't been one, and I haven't been able to figure it out either. Rebecca. Whoops. Do it again. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Sorry. When I'm doing this, I'm doing this kind of for the 3rd time, and I'm still like getting angry with myself, and I'm like, one of my defects is being hard on myself, and I don't know how to look at my part without. I'm trying to do self-speech and talk really nicely to myself, but I'm starting to get angry at myself and other people for things that are unmanageable to be angry at. And I don't want to do that. So I don't know, how do I be easier on myself through this instead of just being like, you can't do that, you can't do that, I guess.
Okay, so first off is we don't want to look at column 4 and 5 yet. We're not there. So to say looking for my part, we're not there yet. We're just on columns 1, 2, and 3. And the best way that you could do it is be like, this is a growing process. I'm trying to grow. Just think of the moldy. Were you here last time with the moldy strawberries?
What's it? No, I wasn't. No.
Okay, so imagine you have a big, beautiful bowl of strawberries, right? And that big, beautiful bowl of strawberries has 2 moldy strawberries. Right? Think of those as the negative parts of your life that you want to remove. If you leave those 2 moldy strawberries in the bowl, what's going to happen to the other strawberries in the bowl? They mold. So the easiest thing to do is to find those 2 moldy strawberries, take them out of the bowl so that you can save the rest of the bowl of strawberries and have that beautiful fruit. Because remember, our fruit has seeds, and those are what God wants us to plant in everybody. So we have to be a beautiful piece of fruit to plant the seed of God in other people. So all we're trying to do is remove some moldy strawberries.
Wow. Thank you. Wow.
You're welcome. Okay, so the question in the chat was, if it's written in the book the same, and especially the comparison to Tony, Joe, and myself doing the other big book study, what's the difference? Well, the number one difference is we're all women. Our emotions and our natures are way different than the boys. And the second is some people, Joe, Tony, and I do it pretty much the same, but the emotions are different. Girls and guys are very differently wired. And the difference within the fellowship is a lot of people ad lib. They add those other 2 to column 3. I like to go straight from the book. What's in the book's what we do. So a lot of people have different interpretations of how to do what's written in the book. But the biggest difference between myself, Joe, and Tony is that we're girls and we think different. We process emotion differently and we have different experiences and we react differently to those experiences. Guys are completely different beasts, That's why I will work with other alcoholics who are not the same sex as me, but when it comes to this work, I work with women because I know how the brain works. I don't know how the guy's brain works. I think I do, but I haven't figured it out yet. Connie.
Hi, I'm Connie. I'm an alcoholic. And Ken, thank you so much. I love this line by line. And I've been sober for a while and I'm really learning a lot. And one thing I just gotta say is I really like that the way you're doing it with columns and pinpointing it, because when I did my first step, and this was a while back, I mean, when I did my first 4-step, there was a lot of writing. And, you know, I agree with you, just sitting down and writing all that, it just brings back up the wounds and everything. And so I like where, you know, you specify it on here. This is great. And, you know, the other thing is, and I was just going to mention this was, and I don't need to be getting ahead, but I've done, like, we're taught to do 4 steps, maybe not every year, but every couple of years. So I've done a lot of 4 steps, and my sponsor originally told me, you know, that, hey, if I don't do it, you know, I don't have to do it perfectly the first time, because I can have another opportunity, you know, to do it again, because I've actually done a 4-step, like on a relationship, my childhood, a lot of different things. And to me, the 4-step shows what you were saying too, is what I've learned is that there's no victims, just volunteers, and that I played a part in all this. And I guess the other thing too I want to say is that what the difference between my different 4 steps is my honesty level. Because sometimes, you know, when I first came in, I wasn't as honest with myself as maybe then 5 years later. So, and I didn't know if you agreed or not about doing the 4-step, you know, like every couple of years or so. Thanks.
Yeah, so my opinion on that, and this is my opinion, and it's, we've discussed it in with the big book group I'm part of outside of this, is if you do a 4th step, thorough and honest 4th step, as we're doing right now, as written in the big book, and you complete the program of action as it's laid out, and you have a spiritual experience as a result, and you're carrying the message to other alcoholics, and you're growing on a spiritual line, and you're maintaining your spiritual condition, there's no other need to do a set of steps. If you stop working the program and practicing the principles and helping others, and you stop growing spiritually, you start to mold like those strawberries. And in that case, you're going to have to do a refresher and you're going to have to start over. But if you're working this program as it's laid out, your step 11, your step 10, your step 12, you're constantly working it, always, every day, every day, every day. If I have a major life event, I will do a mini 4-5. So I got into a relationship of like beginning of the year. So what did I do? I did a 4 regarding the relationship, sat with my sponsor, looked at my motives. If I have a major life event like someone passing away, I had a sponsee pass away. I sat with my sponsor and we did a written 4. So you can do a mini 4 at any time. Step 10 is a 4. The suggestion for a nightly prayer is a 4, right? It includes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right in there. So if you're properly, you know, working every day at your spiritual condition, you're consistently doing this. The only time you're going to need to redo it is if you relapse or if you're not maintaining your spiritual condition. So this is a design for living, to live it. It's wonderful. It's amazing. But of course, I didn't do it right the first 3 times, so I didn't have that, right? And that's why it didn't work. But once it works, it works. Heidi G.
Hi. Sorry, I have so many questions. So in starting this section, I was talking to my sponsor, and she said I had like that my lists that what I'd started with were judgments, and I had to stay away from there being any form of judging. And I'm just really confused on that.
Well,
I guess
this is
clarification.
This is why, like, I can see totally getting into judgment. I would more call it taking someone else's inventory. And this is why when we say, where's my sheet, why I was angry, that's the column where you can get into judgment and you can get into taking their inventory. So that's where we're at. Yeah, but. So that's really, like, you could really take someone's inventory, but that's where doing it in point form is really good. What did they do? They lied, they gossiped, they cheated, they stole. or they belittled, they manipulated, they controlled. That's just a statement of fact. That's what they did. It's not a judgment. That's what they did. If you do a full sentence and a paragraph write up on it, yeah, you're probably going to get into judgment. But like Jenny said, we can be a little bit critical here,
yeah,
because we're not doing their inventory, but we're trying to get to us. So as long as you keep working across the column, you're going to shift. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this process. I'm going to follow this one and do what you said. Just,
if it doesn't work, hey, go try another one, right? Like, this is the good thing about this program. There's lots of but I just follow the book. All right. Sharon.
Hi, Sharon, alcoholic. So as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking that would be in column 2, we can list an observation, but don't attach a moral judgment to it, a moral aspect. I mean, it's like, okay, he lied, but we don't have to go on and on about whether it's good or bad or hurt somebody or not.
No, and I mean, I can elaborate on all of the things, and I can make a story on why he did it and all of that, but that's just it. It's a story I'm telling myself, right? And the human mind, so this is pretty neat. This is totally off topic, but the human mind likes a story, and it needs a complete story for it to accept it. So if my boyfriend number 1 lied and cheated on me, right? And then boyfriend number 2 lied and cheated on me. So now I have boyfriend number 3. And it's a Friday night, and I'm spiritually fit, he's spiritually fit, and he goes out on a Friday night, and he is with some friends, and he says he's going to be home at 10 o'clock. And he's not home at 10 o'clock. And so I try calling his cell phone at 10:10, and he doesn't answer. And by 10:15, it goes straight to voicemail. So what's the story I'm telling myself in my head? The story I'm telling myself is he went out with the guys, he met a girl, he's cheating on me, and he's drinking, and he's turned off his cell phone. That's the story I'm telling myself, because those are the pieces my brain already has, because I haven't really dealt with it really well. But when the actual story is he went out with the guys, he was driving home, it was raining, he got a flat tire, he was out in the rain trying to change the flat tire, didn't have time to answer my call, and the cell phone died. But I don't tell myself that story. I tell myself the first story. So when he gets home, I'm like, what the fuck? Where have you been? Right? Because my brain had to complete the story. So where we learn through this process is we learn that. And we resolve these feelings, and we say, okay, I default to the negative. What's the story I'm telling myself? Okay. But what's the actual plausible thing that happened? And so instead of me losing my mind with a story I'm telling myself, I'm like, he went out with the guys. It's going to be fine. His behavior up to this point does not lead me down that road. So then when he comes home, I'm like, is everything okay? I was getting worried. And he says, I got a flat tire and it was raining, and oh my gosh. I'm like, oh wow, let's get you some Tri-Glows. Totally different scenario, because I am dealing with it differently in my head because of this process. So this is where we get that shift. And it's amazing. And if you're really confused on what I'm talking about, you're going to be amazed in a couple of days when it starts to pull together. Does that make sense, Sharon? Did that even answer your question? Okay. Yvonne?
I'm trying.
There you go.
It's not really so much about what happened. It's about who. I don't know. It's not, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But the details of what happened are not so important as the, like you said, the pinpoint in who it was. So, okay.
So let me kind of, maybe this will help with your question. So we start on the left side of the page with the person, place, or thing, right? As we move right on the page, it becomes less about what's on the left.
Okay.
The further we go to the right, the less it is about the left. So right now we're on the left, person, place, and thing. Then we move to why I was angry. So now it's about that, not about the person. Then I move into my injuries. So now it's about me, my injuries. It's really not even about that person, place, or thing anymore because we're in the middle of the page, right? So we are starting to forget about the ex-boyfriend and we're realizing it hit me in my self-esteem. It hit me in my security. It hit my ambitions. So we're shifting away from the person, place, or thing, and we're shifting toward the right side, which is us.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense. The first time I did these, I went through the book with my sponsor, but it wasn't anything like we're doing.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really sure what the hell I was doing. And then I started them again with a new sponsor, and it was through a book that she wanted me to do through Hazelton. And it asked a bunch of questions. So when I went through with my sponsees, I didn't know what questions to ask, so I used the book. So I like this. I like using just the book rather than the worksheets and stuff. It just makes a lot more sense. So anyway,
I really like it out of the book. I really like it out of the book. It's how it works. It really is, right? Like this is what worked for everybody before us. And I've never seen anybody that's actually done this drink again. Like if you actually do the work, it works. And I mean, yeah, we start on the left and but what happens is people get to column 1 and they're like, "Ooh, I'm making my resentment list. Oh, I got resentments," and they get mad again. And then they get into number 2, why I'm angry. Ooh, I'm gonna tell you why I'm angry, right? And they write it all out and they rip that scab off, and then they're sitting there and they're like, "Oh, I'm a loser. All of this bad stuff. People take advantage of me." And they feel like a pile of shit. And what do? They go and they drink. Right? And that's not the purpose of this program. This right here is where people go and drink. And it's not needed, right? Like we're here to guide you. We're here to support you. We are not trying to look at all of this negative stuff to bring it back up. We're trying to shift it so it doesn't happen again. We're trying to get down to that nitty gritty and get rid of it once and for all. This is the most healing process you can possibly do. And that's why we try to keep it in point form, because we don't want to bring this all back up. We just want to look at it. We're just looking at it, right? That's what it says. We're taking a look at the stock and trade. We're just taking a look at it. I don't want to mush the strawberries up in my hand and I don't need to do that. I just want to, yeah, there's some moldy strawberries. Okay, what are we going to do about it? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
All right. Jenny D.
Hi. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, the whole column 2 thing, I know there's been some chat about it. And honestly, when I do this, and I am one of those people that did this and never drank again for a long time, because as I moved close, when I first did column 2, and yeah, I wrote down everything, and I didn't care if I sounded judgmental. I didn't care if I sounded like a victim. I just put what was there because that's how I felt at the time. As I moved into the next column, none of that stuff mattered anymore because I realized, oh, it's not about what these people did. As we moved on, all that stuff didn't matter, none of it. And so I didn't really try to temper my what am I mad about. I just let her rip.
Yeah.
And honestly, my first list was all victim. But I had to put that down so I could see it when I got to the other side of the page, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense to me. It might not to some of the people doing it for the first time, but it makes perfectly sense. If you trust us and trust God and trust the program, which a lot of people say that works. So there's a lot of us that said, once I did it this way, I never had an urge to drink again, and I've never drank again. 2 of us just said that right now. I mean, try it. Trust us. That's all we're asking you to do. We beg of you. It's in how it works. Just give it a try. What do you got to lose? Joanne?
And I want to add to that, I'm the third person that did this and still hasn't picked up a drink. But I also want to share, especially if this is your first step, that this is why we invite God in, because there will be people on your list that is connected to pain. It's you don't, and it's okay. And you can find your sponsor or a girlfriend or, whatever, and feel that pain, feel it sober and get through it. Because the more we look at what caused the pain, changes will happen. I had an experience where I had a really bad experience with someone in my family, and I wrote down the name, and then I got stuck. And then I found someone and I felt whatever I needed to feel. But then once I was done, I could see how I let that person affect so many choices in my life. I let it happen. And I kept victimizing myself over and over and over again. And I had just one more thing before I forget. The first time I did the steps, it was a co-ed, and there was this old timer who said, not that I want you to drink. I don't want you to drink, but if you're going to drink, don't drink before the fourth and the fifth step, because it's like pouring gasoline on a sunburn. You've taken the leap of faith, you've pulled out these names, all these different feelings, you pour alcohol in it, and it's just don't. Yeah. And I just really wanted to relay that because it will get painful, but y'all got us. Yeah. And y'all got the program, and you got God, and that's it. Thanks.
That's right. And I mean, this is where people go out. This is where they go drinking. And this is the worst place you want to go drink. The worst place. Okay, that's like saying I'm going to rip off this scab and then I'm going to jump into a shark pit. Don't do it. Talk to us. Embrace us. Talk to God. Go to page 13. It says, when in doubt, sit quietly with God and ask for strength and direction. Write that on your head, and every time you look in the mirror when you're crying, read it. Like, whatever you need to do, trust us. Just keep moving. Use us. Borrow our gods. Just ask for strength and direction. Like, people go out on this right here and they don't come back. But you don't need to be that person. Just lean on us and we will help walk you through this, because on the other side is the most beautiful sight that you can see. Picture a mountain. So we're walking up the mountain and step 4 is like right here, right? And you're like here, and it's like you're almost at the top of the mountain and your ass is burning so hard that you're just like, they are going to need to hella lift me off this mountain. No. Keep hiking. Let that ass burn be worth it, because the view at the top when you do that 5 is amazing. Trust me. I like it a little bit too much. I'm sorry. Donna?
There we go.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Donna. I'm an alcoholic. Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Hey, I'm Donna. I'm an alcoholic. I really like step 4. I've been sober for a long time, and I have done this way many, many times with several sponsors and several, group studies. And it is emotional. It takes you deep inside yourself. And like you just said, Kim, you come out on the other side, and it is your honesty level, which was talked about earlier, is just makes an incredible difference, because the longer you're sober, the much more you remember about your previous drinking life, is what I found. And you just can't imagine the feelings you're going to feel, and the relief and the burden of relief that you will feel once you do this step. And I had my higher power with me the whole time, whom I choose to call God, and he led me through everything. And just the relief and the knowing that I wasn't the victim. I blamed everybody else for my drinking. I blamed everybody else for my problems. And you talk about person, place, or thing right now, and you're angry and your injuries. It was, the biggest thing is, for an alcoholic is your resentment, and it's the anger that I had with everyone else but myself. My alcoholism took me to terrible, terrible places, and I blamed everybody else for my problems. But just to write it down and just to get it out, and like someone said earlier, even the pettiness, just to get it out, and unload everything is just the greatest feeling in the world. Just to let it all go and to come out on that other side. It's just a freaking miracle. And because I did it this way, and I did do it, in the Hazelton book, later on, just to see what that was like. But to do it, to get to the other side, it's a friggin' miracle. So God bless everybody. Thank you.
God bless. And to answer Leslie's question in the chat, does this mean I never really did a thorough step 4 because I'm remembering things I didn't want to or how it had affected me? It doesn't mean you didn't do it. It just means some things we don't come up. Some things God doesn't let us remember because we aren't prepared for it at the time. I've had, for example, a girl who did a really awesome step 4. And then we went and we heard a speaker 3 months later, and the speaker talked about abortions. And the girl's like, oh my gosh, I never put that on my 4. Perfect. Get out a pen and paper. Let's do it. We can, as they pop up, we can deal with them. Sometimes your brain keeps you from dealing with it. You can call it your subconscious mind. You can call it God. Sometimes we're not ready to look at it right now. It doesn't mean we didn't do it properly. It just means it wasn't ready to come up at that time. We can do this written process anytime, any day, anytime. I've got a step 10 buddy. My step 10 buddy, if I'm having an issue, I'll be like, hey, can we go through something? She's like, yeah. I go to her house. We'll write it out. We'll do this process. And then I feel relief. You can do this written process anytime with anything. With another alcoholic. Don't do it by yourself. Self-reflection is never going to get you anywhere. Write it out. Call up your step 10 buddy. Call up your sponsor. Like my sponsor's busy. I don't call my sponsor, so I have a step 10 buddy. And I'll write this out and I'll do it right then and there. So if it doesn't mean you didn't do it right the first time. It just meant it didn't come up. So, and just as long as you do it when it comes up, you're okay. It's when we're like, oh, and then we don't look at it, then it gets to be a problem, and then we're not spiritually fit. Then we're going to drink again. So when it bubbles up to the surface, we do it. Any more? Lisa Gale, I see you all excited. Do you want to share? No? All right. Okay. So we're all comfortable with our homework, which is column 2 and column 3. It'll be, so again, if you're not on the Facebook page, can't find the Facebook page, this is my phone number. You can text me is the easiest way because I do have a busy schedule. So if you can't get me or you want the sheet, examples, here's my email. Okay, I think I spelled it right.